Hi, it's Steph here from the bead shop. I'm going to quickly show you a simple way of creating a blend between two colours of polymer clay without using a pasta machine. Pasta machines do make things a lot smoother and faster, but not everyone has one, and it's a bit of an investment if you're not sure if you're going to use it a lot. So I thought I'd show you a very quick way of creating a blend between two colours just using a rolling pin and your hands. I've conditioned the two pieces of clay, just rolling them in my hands and smoothing them out and just warming them up to help give them a soft, pliable texture at the moment. So next thing I need to do, I've already rolled them into sort of rough sausage shapes, but I need to taper each end of the sausage now. So I'm just applying more pressure on one end than the other as I roll them in my hands. That sort of shape is what we're aiming for, so a bit narrower it wasn't at one end, and the same with the other one. So we've now got two pieces of clay with a wide end and a thin end, and now we're going to place these two together, leaving a good amount of colour at one end so they're not completely touching like that. You need to leave a little bit of colour each side. The reason for that is when we blend the two colours into one another, you don't want the whole of the two colours to change. You want to have a bit of the original colour left at each side. So that's why we just overlap in the middle. So I'm just going to press these together. And I'm going to roll them together. So they are well and truly stuck. Now, so that we don't end up with it just getting really long and narrow, I'm just applying a bit of pressure inwards too. And then I'm going to flatten it out a bit, and then this is where I tend to get the rolling pin involved. So I am just rolling over the surface. The two colours will start to smush together. And then I'm going to keep doing this, and we're going to start folding the clay over. You never fold inwards, always over, so you've always got the two colours showing at both ends. You don't want them to overlap. So then I am just going to keep rolling. Can get quite thin with this. Clean it off. This is just baking paper that I'm using, partly to protect the surface, and also you can, if you need to, just transfer it straight into the oven. So you do need a fair bit of patience with this. It will all of a sudden start showing through, but until you get to that stage, it feels like a really slow process. But it's worth it for the magic of the two blending colours. So you can see almost created a completely new colour in the middle, and the turquoise gradually blends into this lovely purple, and then the pink gradually blends into the purple on the other side. Now you can keep on going and create a much more gradual effect on these sides, but for the purposes of what I'm going to do, this is looking good. So I'm going to fold it over again, and when you fold over the two sides, I always go from the folded side so you can push out all the air as you go. And then I'm going to start pinching in so that these colour changes are reduced a bit more. I'll give it another little roll from the back. So even from a small piece like this, you can create all sorts of different pieces. You can use little pre-made cutters to frame and cut out the blends of colour that you want. And there's a little heart there, which is quite sweet. Or you can use a tissue blade to actually slice through and keep the bits that you like. I quite like long, thin, narrow triangles. So you could simply frame an area like this. And then to get a shape the same size but with the blend going the opposite way, you can layer that on top very gently so they don't stick, and then just use that as a guide to creating the same shape in reverse. They would make some very cool earrings. So there's lots you can do, and I love playing with the offcuts as well. You can also spiral up the clay. You can also roll it a lot thinner if you want to. So for example, I'm just going to neaten the edge off here, move those to one side. And then you can use rolling guides. So this is where the pasta machine comes in very handy because it can roll to certain diameters. But these are just thin pieces of plastic which will allow the clay to get rolled to the same diameter all the way across. So I'm just lining those up either side and then rolling with my acrylic roller to ensure the clay ends up the same diameter. Don't think that's going to get any thinner now. And then one fun thing to do with colour blends is to roll them up. So I'm just going to cut the end off here to a nice straight edge, and then I'm going to gently start curling that up from one end and patting it down as I go. So it's just, you want to apply pressure as you go so you don't end up with gaps between your rolls. It's just a case of gentle roll and press, roll and press. And then give that whole piece a little bit of a gentle roll. And then when we cut off the end, you have a really cool graduated spiraling changing colour. And we can do the same on the other side, but from the other direction. So let's trim that down. Trim off that straight edge. roll and press, roll and press. And then just going to apply a little bit more pressure all the way along. And the same again, we'll chop into it and you'll see the spiral from the other direction. So same piece of clay, but two different effects. And then you can always trim these down to create a bit of an abstract spotty design. So I'm just going to use some of the offcuts here from the trimmings. Let's trim off the other end. Oh, here's a bit, that will do. I'm just going to roll that out, roll it into a ball and press it flat and just give it a little gentle roll. And this can then become the base for some slice designs. So just trim very small slithers off there, just a millimetre or so thick. Place them on your design so there's very little space between them. Give it a gentle squash and pat. Roll over the top. And then you can cut out a design and you're left with quite a fun swirling pattern. So there's lots you can do. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a taster of how quick and simple making a two-colour blend can be and the effects it can give you. So with a hole in the top of these, they'd make quite a cool pair of earrings and a tiny little heart pendant to go with it. But even all the offcuts from you inevitably create from your polymer clay are great fun just to mess around and spiral them and see what happens. You get some really interesting colours and effects.